What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, aka the Shy Kid, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and everything Chicago sports related podcast. But today we're talking ball everywhere, universal, not a universal, but everything Major League Baseball, everything minor league baseball. We're getting after it. I got the kid from the jungle, one of the biggest New York fans in the world, Luis Arenado. I love it. I love it. My dog, Lou. How we feeling today?
Oh, we're feeling good, man. We're always feeling good.
Feeling good. So, real quick, you were talking to me backstage. Arenado does a lot of work in the baseball card game. Can you talk to the people really quickly? Talk to me about getting into collecting baseball cards and just what it's been like for you and how that's changed your perspective on just baseball players as a whole.
Well, especially on my personal experience with it, I've always come to look at more of when I started, collecting just regular baseball players, veterans. I didn't really know a lot about rookies and prospects until I started going on Whatnot, on the app Whatnot for live streaming and auctions. When I first got into it, I knew really nothing about anything of the new types of rookies. I just knew rookie card. But when Bowman stuff came out for me, I looked at First Bowman. First Bowman is actually the First Bowman is the first card before their rookie card, which is something I never knew. And that actually turns out to be more valuable than the rookie card in a lot of ways. For me, collecting, I always personally collected, PC Yankees at first. But then I looked at some of the guys who are really on the radar, who are on fire, dudes that are really, it. Like Wyatt Langford. I mean, Wyatt Langford is, one of the best hitters in the minor leagues at the moment. Probably the best hitter. So when you're looking at, PCing cards and collecting, look at the guys who are really on fire and probably sell as fast as you can. Most likely, definitely sell before they get brought up to the big leagues.
Right. Most definitely. I know myself, man. I mean, the first ones I ripped off of Pete Crow Armstrong, covering him in Iowa. And shout out Mike Powers for Pete Crow Armstrong. I always have to bring that up. He's a big Mets fan.
Absolutely.
Enjoy that first couple months of Javier Baez, and I hope it was worth it. But
yeah,
I had to grab that one right away because you could just see it. When there's a cat coming out there that there's guys you could take a chance on. I feel like it's a low gamble, high reward, low risk. But there's guys like Wyatt, there's guys like Paul, there's guys who are absolute monsters. I mean, I know I was just talking to Paul just a few months ago, and we were talking about like so many people are chasing him and Livy Dunn around trying to get their autograph. They're major celebrities now, and it's like Paul is the complete opposite of what you would think he is. The guy is literally just like the most military grid, stay at home, does not want to go out and be in the shine. He wants to sit there and buy, but the profits of a Paul Skeens rookie card right now is absolutely crazy. So, I love that you get into that, bro, because it's a part of the game that I feel like isn't dying, but isn't talked about the way it used to. Rookie cards kids used to just run to a store on Fridays to go check out the new cards that came out. You don't see that anymore. Everyone's getting them online. Everyone's getting them from all these different various places. But that game is so dope. And I did want to ask you, is there anywhere where you promote those, where you go live yourself, or is there anything you got going on that people can find you?
Yeah. Well, for me, I was with G Sports Cards. G Sports Cards, that's where I started off. Without him, I'd be nowhere in the sport card experience at all.
He's
And
humble.
I've known the kid since I was around 8 years old. So 13 years of friendship. He's a brother. He's family to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So he called me up one night, and that's how we got to business, and that's where I'd go. I go to where I'm usually going on now. Mint Rails Breaks that's his name on whatnot. Mint _ Rails Breaks. He's a smaller channel compared to G, but he's on the come up. He's amazing, and I'm usually on there when I get product from him. I'm usually on most of the days. He's awesome. And KK Sports Cards, they're incredible. The guy Griff on there, Simba's on there. A lot of big guys there who that's probably one of the biggest baseball channels on the app. They're incredible. Every time you go there, you're guaranteed a entertainment. Same thing with G, same thing with Mint Rails with Phil, same thing with them. Those guys know how to entertain on the live and know how to pull absolute massive cards.
Most definitely. Now, who's a card that you have right now that maybe it's not worth a lot, maybe it's not, maybe it's nothing crazy, but it's just near and dear to your heart?
I have one that actually G's brother gave to me as a gift because he knew how much of a fan I am of him, and I'll never sell it. This is something I always have. This is a PSA 10 Gem Mint Anthony Volpe red out of 5. There's only 5 of them made in this. It's not his first Bowman, because if it was, wow, number one. And number two, I mean that he would never. I don't think he would ever give that to me. That first Bowman would be ridiculous if it was a red. 100%. This one's out of Bowman draft. This is a couple. I think maybe a year and a half after his first Bowman. 2022 Bowman draft. That was Jackson Holliday's first year in the product.
Right.
So Volpe's, it wasn't a first, but it's him in a red, true red out of 5. It's very, very near and dear to my heart. That card I'll never sell. It's a pretty valuable card, but that's something I'll keep forever. I'll probably bring it down to my kid or my nephew or something like that, because like me, Derek Jeter was my shortstop. He'll always be my shortstop. He's my idol. He's my favorite player of all time. So now that my nephew will grow up, he's gonna have Anthony Volpe, and I'll probably give it to him.
It's big shoes, man. Big shoes. And you talk about that, obviously living in Philly, having those conversations about, now, how does this kid end up a New York Yankees fan? Now, to take me through that walk, now there's obvious, reasons we could talk about. I imagine, you watch the young Yankees going through the early 2000s to the 2010s. It was an absolute blast. But where are you at right now as it pertains to becoming a diehard Yankee fan? How does that even happen?
Well, I think become a diehard Yankee fan. That's your question, right? It's to be, I think, almost brought up into it. That's a tremendous start. I mean, my whole family is Yankee fans. My father particularly was someone I watched Yankees games with all the time, and my mother, diehard Yankee fan. My uncle, diehard Yankee fan. We all are. I feel like even if you're not from New York,
you're right.
If you come from somewhere else, especially close to New York, though, if you come there, you go to a Yankee game. I know a lot of people have say that Yankee Stadium isn't the nicest. It's not the nicest stadium in the MLB. I mean, let's be honest, it's not. But you look at that atmosphere, and you look at the fans and how much their passion for them, the good fans, the fans that have a passion for the players, and the calls they get in the beginning of the game, the roll calls every time they call somebody out. I love Volpe's call out as well. He kisses his jersey, points at them. It's the greatest feeling. And then when they get to winning, that atmosphere, I'll never forget. ALCS Game 5 against the Astros. It was electric. 2019, and that was electric. We were facing Verlander. He was coming off a Cy Young year, I believe, and I don't know if he won. I don't think he did that year, but he was coming off some year, and we obliterated him in the 5th inning or so. Aaron Hicks actually was doing really well, and LeMahieu. I have videos all over the place of just I lost my voice that night.
You still rocking with LeMahieu? Is he still a fan?
Let me tell you, I have my feelings about certain players, but I always give them a chance. I'm a guy who doesn't give up on them too quick. LeMahieu came from the Rockies as a hit. He was a star. The man was a star, phenomenal hitting, always. Not too much of a home run hitter, but he was a great hitter coming into the Yankees. He had a phenomenal year. In the first year, he was putting up almost MVP caliber stats, and then he kind of fell off. And I don't know. It's just been a struggle for him. I feel that he can bounce back if he really applies to it. I love the guy in the leadoff spot, but now with the new guys coming out, I love Volpe in the leadoff spot for some reason. I understand his average needs to go up a little bit, but then if he can get on base, that man can steal second, third, and then if Judge is behind him, oh man, if Judge is behind him, and then you got Soto in the 3 spot,
yep.
You're never gonna lose that. You're never gonna lose that.
Beautiful. And if Stan can even play half of the games, come on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You're in a real situation right now. And here's my thing, and I've been very vocal about this. Obviously, in a little bit, we'll talk about the Juan Soto stuff as a whole, because it was crazy, and
oh man.
Not to get too deep into that, but understanding that Jason Dominguez is still a part of the organization even after the Juan Soto deal was something for me that I was like, yo, you kept Volpe and you kept Dominguez. So, I mean, like, really, what are we talking about? Like, there's a lot of fans out there saying, oh, you gave up all these top prospects, woo, woo, woo. And that's great. Yeah, you did. And it's not like we're not going to sit here and say you didn't, it's not like you gave Jason Dominguez and 6 other guys. I mean, you gave 6 guys who equate to still less than who the Martian could potentially be. So, I still have those conversations all the time. I said that to our guy Mike at Give Us a Shot. I said, Jason Dominguez could still be one of those sneaky guys at some point during the 2024 season who ends up being a lot bigger role than a lot of people anticipated. Right now, Stanton's obviously still going to be starting every day because he's earned that, and the salary is going to tell you he's playing every day. You don't
100%.
You don't have that sitting on the bench unless it's really bad, and I don't think it's at that point yet.
No.
But we know history's past, and we know that bearing injuries, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to show something in his rookie year. And I think that's going to be interesting. Where are you at right now from both a card perspective and from a fan perspective of Jason Dominguez?
Oh, I mean, with Jason Dominguez, although his price dropped a little bit since maybe last year, because he was really high, really high. He still is really high. I would personally collect him. I would hold on him. That's just me as a Yankee fan. Some people would probably sell. There's mixed emotions when it comes to him, especially the performances he did have in the minor leagues. At one point, he wasn't doing very well,
right?
And that's when people wanted to sell him, and that's when his price was dropping a little bit. But I personally think that he has a bright future with us, and he's shown that already against some top caliber pitching before he got hurt, unfortunately. But I think he's electric, and I think that he has he's only 19.
I believe this year he's turning 20.
Yeah, this year he's turning 20. So now he's ahead of the game by far. The kid knows how to hit, and I believe that the pressure won't get to him.
Right. And I'm a big believer, Lou, that Yankees fans don't give you nicknames unless you do something. So for him to have one already into this, it's important. And I know that's a corny little take, but it's real, man. I mean, the Bronx, Chicago, Philly, LA, we don't love you for no reason. So there's definitely a reason to it. We wouldn't call Pete Crow Armstrong PCA unless he earned that. The second we saw that kid come into a Chicago Cubs uniform in Myrtle Beach and South Bend, I mean, you knew off rip that this kid was an absolute unit. I do have to mention, because we're live on a couple of different platforms right now and the comments are going crazy, the Cubs have signed Hector Neris to a multi-year
deal.
The
Cubs got him?
Bada bing! Bada bing!
You know what?
Every time I go away, they pull me back in.
Just when I thought I was out,
They pull me back in.
pull
Every
me
time I
back.
get away, every time I'm like, we're
Oh,
gonna talk Yankees today. Here comes Jed, 7 a.m. Says, Mike, get the fuck over here. Come here. Come here. He grabs me by my bootstraps. Mike,
that's a good sign.
it's
That's
a
a
good
very good
sign.
sign. I like him in the bullpen. I like him a lot.
It's
I think we
crazy.
were, of course. I mean, being the Yankees, I think we were in on almost everybody. So, we were in on him too, I believe. But I'm glad you guys got him. I like Neris. I just think his the way he plays the game needs to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, and I love how you kind of just, we know what you're talking about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think, the conversation for me is more so what are you looking at from him going into 2024? Because last year, obviously, 1.71 ERA, absolutely phenomenal. But history's past has told you it's relatively going to be somewhere in the threes. He had a career year last year in 71 games, and that's great. You know
He
what I
was
mean?
pretty untouchable. He was.
Right. Can I expect that going into 2024? That's probably going to be the big question. And of course, I'm still waiting for Cody Bellinger, so I don't care about anything else until that happens. I'm
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Look at,
that's a big one for you guys, especially the bounce back year that he had. Oh man, I haven't seen 2019 Bellinger in a long time, and that felt good to see, honestly. And watching you guys play is electric. It's fun. I loved watching you guys last year, especially the chase that you guys had to make the playoffs.
man, what
Fortunately, you guys did come a little short, but it was fun. It was fun. It was electric. It was a lot of young kids. Nico Horner's a dog,
dude.
absolute dog.
That was I forgot to even mention that earlier. You mentioned Jeter with that card, and and then the Volpe card, and mine is I have a rookie OG Nico Horner card straight out of
Mm.
Stanford. Like this kid, the second this kid came to the majors is a crazy little story. Javi, Riz, KB, Schwartz, everybody's still on the team. Cassianos is literally going on a second half tear that got him paid over $100 million. We're at this point where it's like, man, we're going on one of our last stands. I need a new jersey every year. I talked to Mike Powers last year. I believe his was Roberto Clemente. I said, oh yeah, cool. Mine was this. I think I have it right here. And also, R.I.P. to the Mamba because yesterday was the 4-year anniversary. But I got
Yes,
this
yes.
baseball one. It's a baseball. It's kind of tough. I would never
That is
rock anything LA. But in the front of it just says Mamba. So I was like, that was my baseball
tough.
jersey.
No, that is tough. Yeah, I
Uh,
know. It's one very sad. What happened with him, and my prayers go out to his family and the families that lost others in that helicopter crash as well. It's really
of course.
really sad, and it wasn't his time, but we celebrating him by being how much of a good man and a good father he was, and a phenomenal ball player he was. That's the only thing you could do at that.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, and you get to this point to where like, hey, listen, Kobe Bryant lives 10 times more every single day than a lot of cats I know in this city. I mean, the guy is still, inspiring people through old videos, through inspirational quotes, through podcasts we talked about. I mean, the guy, books he's read, Dear Basketball, there's so much that goes into that. But the one thing I do think is crazy we were talking about is I got that Nico Horner jersey before his first game. The second he came up, bought his jersey. Everyone's like, dude, you had Rizzo, Brian Baez, all these other cats. So now every time I go to Wrigley, I wear a Nico Horner jersey. I just look around and I go, look at these fucking schmucks wearing guys who aren't even here. Part of my language. Guys clowned me. They were like, what, you think he's gonna be here? I'm like, yeah, I do. And now he's the only one left. He's the last man.
He is a dog, man, and he's. I think he's the best. Well, I think I know he's the best on your team. He's a disgusting ball player. That kid knows how to play.
It's sneaky, and I like that you say that because it's one of those conversations to where, listen, respectfully, Nico Horner at this point in his career, if it all stays the same, will never be a serious MVP candidate just because the home runs aren't there and because, the walks aren't there. But what he brings to the table, batting over 280 consistently every single, and that's a generous 280. It's mainly like 290, but I'm not trying to be biased here. Gold glove defense at second. He could play short. I mean, what he brings is an old school level of baseball that, in my opinion, when you play at a place like Wrigley Field, if you played in the Bronx, you are in the right place to be a Hall of Famer. If you were playing for the A's, if you were playing for somewhere, respectfully, because I know they're on the come up, if you're playing in Baltimore, maybe you don't get that love, but because you're at the friendly confines, knocking in RBIs left and right, the kid's an absolute freak. But I want to keep talking to you about freaks, man. Get a little freaky in here. I want to talk about Juan Soto. Juan Soto was on my radar. Juan Soto was on many other people's radars, but he ended up being a New York Yankee. First, I want to talk to you about the 48-hour wait for the confirmation that the man is even going to the Yankees. It was announced, and then it was just hush. It was just hush, hush. Yeah, we ain't talking about it. No one's saying a word. Take me through those couple of days of, is he a Yankee? Is he not a Yankee?
At first, I was like, you know what? I know that this is it. I said, this is going to happen. I talked to my friends about it. I mean, we were constantly talking about that this is going to happen. I didn't see him going anywhere else. I really didn't. I wanted him here, and I knew we were going to get him here. At first, after we thought that, then some things were coming out, and we were like, you know what? I'm like, I don't know. I'm starting to get nervous now. I'm starting to get very nervous. And then all of a sudden we see the trade, right? Then we see that happen, and then we're like, yes. We're like, yes. Oh, yeah. And then now in my head, because I'm such a messed up in the head about prospects, I'm like, okay, Drew Thorpe, I'm gonna let it slide.
Great ball player.
I'm gonna put it aside. Mm-hmm. I'm very in love with Drew Thorpe in the most possible way as a pitcher, because I'm a pitcher. In a pitcher's perspective, that kid is awesome. He'll do great. Me, I was a little upset about King. My mother specifically was very furious about King. I said, Ma, listen. I said, Ma, we got Juan Soto. I said, we got Juan. I said, I don't care anymore. I don't care about Thorpe. I don't care about King. I said, we got Juan Soto. So now, especially now that we, I believe, have the money to sign him long term, that would be great. That would be my dream.
Now, not to play devil's advocate, but what does that do for your perspective if it is a 1-year rental? Is it still worth it? Is it still showing that Cashman cares? Is it still showing that you guys were willing to take a shot at winning it all?
See, that's the thing that there was a lot of conversations going around, especially with my friends. We were talking about that. My main concerns in that trade were Thorpe and King.
Right.
Higashioka did really well as a catcher, especially with Garrett Cole. Hitting wise, he could have done a little better, but I loved Higashioka. I did. I liked him.
Right.
Him leaving, I wasn't too upset about. Brito, good pitcher. I wasn't entirely upset with him as either leaving. I think that trade was. I think we absolutely won that trade. Of course, we also got Trent Grisham out of it. That we won that. We won that trade 100%, and it's not even a question. We definitely won that. But when it comes to the 1 year, thing, I think if the only way that it could be 110% okay if it was just 1 year is if we won the World Series.
Right.
That's the only thing that, and I think that was Cashman's mindset, of course. If we get Juan Soto 1, 2, 3, that heart of the lineup, I think we could do it all, especially now that they made some moves in the rotation, which is huge. That is ginormous. I love the Stroman move.
That was a little weird to me. Talk to me about really quick, because we got to address that one. That's a big elephant in the room. I remember when Stroh first came here, it was around the same time that him and Cashman and the Yankees organization had a lot of beef. Now, Stroman's born and raised in New York. So, we're having these conversations about, man, bro, is this going to be one of the bigger rivalries? Is it going to be Stroman versus the Bronx? Like, how does it go from so toxic to both of them mutually having interest in signing a contract?
I think it all comes down to there's a bigger purpose here than ego. And if he could be used to help us, then we need him. That's what I think is the case. especially, I mean, he was blocking Yankee fans left and right on Twitter as well, on X. He was blocking everybody left and right, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything on anything because I didn't want him to block me. But I think that when it comes to the rivalry thing, I think that it all just boiled down to they thought that he could be a big part in the rotation, and setting everything else aside, he wanted to be a Yankee. He was from here, and I think that, especially, I mean, the way he's acting now, what he's posting, I believe that he wants to be here, and he wants to do good, and he wants to help us win. And that's I think that's, they just pushed everything aside, and they thought, if he can help us, we need him. That's just, I think it's just as simple as that, because there's no other thing. I mean, when it comes to baseball, when it comes to winning a championship, I think you need to put your ego aside, especially. I remember back in the day, I was very young, but when Derek Jeter when we got A-Rod, he wasn't especially, wasn't specifically too happy with it, but A-Rod was and still is one of the greatest players at third base ever. And he decided not to take shortstop. He said, that's Jeter's position. He's not giving it up. And they as a team, did what they could. And what did they do? They won a championship.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's just what it is and when it comes to that, I think it's winning. And that's what the Yankees do. That's what the Yankees have done, not recently, but that's what the Yankees do, is win.
Yeah.
And that's what, if that's what they thought was the right choice to do, to win, that's what they needed to do, was to win.
And I will say this, Stroh is a very vocal guy. When he's upset, and he's going to let you know. And I kind of actually appreciate that more than anything, because I don't like the quietness of certain ball players of like, yeah, man.
He's not fake. He's not.
He lets you know. He lets you know. He lets you know what's going on. He was very adamant about, feeling not disrespected by the Chicago Cubs, but just kind of upset by not getting that extension early in the phenomenal first half of the season that he had. I mean, he was the Cy Young favorite. I'm not even being biased, of the National League in the first half of the season. Now, the second half, derailment of injuries and everything else that endured, the Red Sox series, et cetera, where Cody Bellinger saved him by hitting some belly bombs, baby. I was there. It was crazy. Grand slam from Belly. It was great. But made me forget about the whole day from Stroman. But it's one of those things where you have to give and take with Stroh, and I think there's going to be a lot of highs, and I think there's going to be some lows. And I think the beauty is when you have guys like Garrett Cole also in that rotation, you could definitely be okay with him having lows, because for the Cubs position, this was, at a point to where Justin Steele was still emerging as that guy. Now going into 2024, we understand that's the ace. That's the guy. That's nasty. That's nasty as it gets, is a guy like him.
Phenomenal year. Phenomenal. Like,
ridiculous. But going into the season, it was really, okay, well, Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele, 1A, 1B, really interchangeable. Doesn't really, we didn't have an ace. And that was really how it felt. Now you understand, okay, well, if we had Stroman going into this year with Steele and all these other cats, Shota Imanaga, all these other guys, Jordan Wicks that go in front of them, I'm still a big believer that Cade Horton and Ben Brown find their way up here. But,
Cade Horton, speaking of the prospects, Cade Horton is a dog, and he's a big pitching prospect, especially for you guys. Monster. I think he lands himself in a rotation spot very soon. Yeah. I think he can prove that. I think he will.
I hope so. I hope so. But getting with Stroh, man, I love it. I love it for the Bronx. I love it for New York. I mean, Stroh is the bad guy. That's what it is. And he's a great guy, though. That's the crazy part. But he plays a villain so well. And he's cool with that. He's the electrifying performances. Him, Fernando Tatis Jr., so many others just kind of embrace that, like, okay, you don't like me? Cool, watch this. And I think that's one of my favorite parts. But before we get you out of here, Lou, I want to talk to you a little bit about minor league ball.
Oh,
couple guys I want to run down with you, have a little conversation. Who are you most excited about? Because there's a lot of different conversations, whether it's on the Yankees or not. Who's somebody that you're like, dude, I can't wait to see this guy perform on a big league level?
Dylan Cruz.
It's a good one.
Dylan Cruz. him, uh, he is absolutely incredible in the outfield. Phenomenal hitter. I believe he could do a lot for the Nationals. He could definitely help them win a few more games, a good amount more games. I think they need a lot more to do those, especially that team. But they're very good. I love Bryce Eldridge. Bryce Eldridge is a dog, especially for the San Francisco Giants. That's a big one. In my opinion, another one, it sucks to say because he's on the Red Sox, but Marcelo Mayer. Marcelo Mayer is an absolute animal, and that he'll be very good. I mean, I think we will all love. I think anybody would love and agree with me to see this year, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah,
Jackson Holiday is probably one of the greatest talents I've seen in my life. In a shortstop perspective as well, he is absolutely incredible, and the numbers he's been putting up in the minor leagues is stupid. The fact that he's been brought up this quick is stupid. He's just incredible, and yeah. I can't wait to see also what his younger brother's gonna do. His young Ethan, like I can't believe the talent in that family. I mean, Matt Holliday's probably definitely proud, of course.
I can certainly believe it though. If you've seen the videos of their training facility that they have in their home,
oh dude, they got pickleball. Bro, they got everything. They tossing football around. They got a batting cage in there for obviously for BP.
Right.
The pickleball part got me. I'm like, pickleball. I'm like, dude, this guy's running pickleball with his father. I'm like, yo, this is
crazy. It's crazy. I'm sure you probably feel the same way being in Philly. I'm in Chicago. Like the fact that you have access to your own personal batting cage that's indoors is a godsend. You're in Chicago, you're in the Northwest, you're anywhere where it snows 4 or 5 months out of the year. Dude, you're not at the batting cages. You're not at the field every single day, putting in reps, getting in work. You're trying to figure other ways out. You're playing ball with the couch, and you're getting yelled at. You better not hit a lamp. Like, oh my God. Like, you're trying to figure out ways to remain in the game. You're in your room practicing your swing. Like, it's the simple things like that I have to tell the kids I coach all the time, but it's the reality that this is where we're at, to have that at such a young age at your dispense. And this isn't just a kid who has these things. I want to point that out, because you can give a kid the world, but is he going to be able to utilize it to the best of his ability?
That is it right there. That is it.
Kid,
when I was younger, I as a pitcher and as a ball player, I also play third. I was third and I'm hitting, but the bread and butter for me was pitching. But the thing is that kids don't seem to understand, especially at a young age, that they really need good coaching, is that you need to put the work in. You could be talented. You could be immensely talented. But sooner or later, if you think, oh, I'm so talented, I don't really need to work as hard as these other kids who are not as good as me,
right?
Then they're gonna eventually meet up with you. And the older you get, the less talent you're gonna potentially have, because you think you're still good, and then you see all these other kids. You need to put the work in, especially with these younger kids. I grew up in the same organization, in the same travel bowl for 10 years until I got aged out. They did everything they possibly could for me, and I still talk to them to this day. I still train with them. These guys know what they're talking about, and you need to have that in your life. You don't necessarily need to have an indoor batting cage. You need to improvise. Have something to do, and look it up. Look it up on anything. Work as hard as you possibly can. The results will show. These kids, especially nowadays, the breeds that these kids are born different. I don't know. Yeah. I see 14, 15-year-old kids. This was not when I was 14, 15 years old. I was not around that. The nasty, how nasty these kids are at this age. These kids are throwing high 80s, low 90s at 15 years old, and it's insane. You see what you need. You need to start working young for that. You have to. You have to put the work in, and it's going to show. Some kids may not like it. I listen. I had a phase where I didn't like it. You got to put the work in. You're never gonna like it. You got to put the work in. You gotta apply yourself, and that it's gonna work. And especially if you have that talent to throw strikes, throw hard, or hit, and any type of mechanics you need to work on. Anything they tell you to do, and you'll see it'll show. It'll hurt, but it will show.
No, without a doubt. And it was one of those things where, growing up, I played center field my whole life, and we were locally known. Like people knew who we were. Me, my boy Scott Gage, JoJo Mack, a couple other cats in the city. But a dog that I got to play against every year for my first 2 years, because I believe he was 2 years older than me. I believe when I was a freshman, he was a junior. I played against Jack Sawinski for 2 years.
Oh,
he went to Taft High School, William Howard Taft, right over by my house. That kid was fucking, part of my language. That kid was different. That kid, you understood, like, going out wasn't important, and he wasn't bigger than anybody else in that building. And it was very important for him to just continue to put as much work in as possible. I never saw him. I promise you, I mean this with my heart. I've never seen him anywhere other than the field in the entire city. I think the kid
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up. Sacrifice. That's another big thing I was taught. Sacrifice. If you have, let's say it's a Sunday, and you have practice, especially strength and conditioning, speed and agility, anything weight room, anything, and you have it Sunday morning, Saturday night ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. No. You need to sacrifice. And that was a huge word while I was growing up, bettering myself and with the travel team. Sacrifice. If you think you can go out and then do whatever you want to do and then get home at 4 a.m. and not be hungover the next day and on a Sunday morning,
yeah,
or do any stupid anything other stupid crap, then it's not gonna happen.
You learn very quickly, Lou. Yeah, and I'm 23, so I could even shoot some wisdom at you with that. Like Mike Powers is my guy. He always helps me out. Just understanding the world and getting a better understanding. I stopped drinking before I turned 21. Irish Italian kid growing up in the city, and understanding
100%.
Who you want to be, but you also, rock with your cousins. You also rock with your family. And we're drinking out the bottle since we're about 13 years old. We're born with a little Irish whiskey on our lips. But the reality of that situation is, at a very young age, I realized, I'm not just some Irish Italian kid. I'm from the city. I'm from here. And, we're not just guys from the burbs who have a show talking about Chicago sports. Like, we're here. And you watch how other people who, I'm going to be honest, some of the most talented cats I've ever met in my life. Now, I've worked in the WNBA. I've worked in minor league baseball. I've worked in the NBA. I've worked in a lot of different levels. And I'll tell you guys in the street that I could name right now 5 guys off rip that could be in the NBA and drop 15 points a night. Guys who can at least steal 15 bags a year in the major league level. Now, what are they going to hit? I don't know. But you know what? They can steal some bags out there, play some great D. But because of other things going around in the world, whether that's in the street, whether that's just the party scene, whatever that is, I've watched guys just ruin their talent. And we talked about Kobe earlier, and I ended last night's show the same way I want to end this one. Favorite quote will always be outwork your potential. You got all the potential in the world, and that's cool, but that literally means nothing 3 years down the line when you're batting about $150. So, it's at the end of the day, you got to continue doing what you're doing. But Lou, brother, appreciate you being here. It's first timer, first time. Yeah, no one would even know this was your first time getting your feet wet. I mean, I thought we were gonna have you in the little kiddie section, but deep end right away. I mean, you pulled it out, bro. I'm proud of you, bro. I can't wait to reconnect with you, do more shows. We're gonna definitely be doing some stuff soon together. Let the people know real quick, and myself, because I gotta get the IG, where the people could find you, where you got anything going on, whether it's the car business or anything Yankees related. Where could we find Lou?
Well, usually on my Instagram, you'll see a lot of Yankee things popping up on my story, and a lot of prospects things popping up on my stories. So you'll see at Louis Arellano 3. That's what my favorite number 3. So at Louis Arellano 3. It's pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy. And then on Whatnot, G's Sports Cards. G's _sport _ cards. And then you'll have him, and Mint Rails Break, same thing with the underscores. They're the ones. They're the ones you want to go after. These cats are good, and they're fun, entertaining, and they'll guarantee you a good time. I appreciate you for having me on the show. thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great to be here. I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll get together soon again.
Most definitely, most definitely. With that being said, we will check you guys out later. Make sure you hit that follow button on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're listening from. I will say it does. I appreciate everybody wherever they're from, but we're at 15.9K on TikTok right now. We're trying to get to that 16, big old 16 before the end of January. So if you haven't already, we're going to have some clips of Lou on TikTok later today. We're going to obviously be doing some more stuff with Mike Powers, Chaz Franklin, and so many others throughout the week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, we'll check you guys out later. Peace. Go Cubs, baby. Hector.